Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another week of the podcast. My name is Toby,
And I'm Seth.
and we are the SwineyBro.
We welcome you to the SwineyBros podcast.
So this is a very special, very Merry Christmas edition of the SwineyBros. It won't be posted on Christmas, but it will be for the week of Christmas. It's been a fantastic week. The Buffalo Bills won. The Denver Broncos won. You can't really get much better than that. And even Phillip Rivers decided to come out of retirement. So it's been a wild week. Before we jump into breaking news, just hit a little channel milestone. Wanted to say thank you all for 55,000 channel views, which is crazy in a 3-month runtime of 12 episodes. Thank you guys so much for that. The shorts have been popping off. The views have been popping off. So getting new subscribers, new views, new shares, all the above. So thank you very much from the bottom of our heart. Thank you for that Christmas gift. So anyways, you know what time it is. Breaking news for everything around the NFL. What do we got?
Here we are on this 19th day of December, 6 days away from Christmas. Going to start off with some AFC East news. The Jets have fired their defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks.
Wow.
This is his first season with the New York Jets. Didn't even get to finish his first season, and they let him go. So sad to see this on the list of injuries for this year. An MRI has confirmed that Micah Parsons has tore his ACL and will be out for the remainder of the 2025 season as expected. My. Oh, some criminal news here. Titans defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons' home was broken into while the team was in Santa Clara, California to face the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday night. The break-in at Simmons' home is the latest instance of an athlete's home being burglarized while they are playing away from home. Earlier this season, $200,000 in property was allegedly stolen from the home of Cleveland Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders while his team was playing in Baltimore. Sounds like an inside job to me. You know the people are going to be gone. Anyway, in other news, Colts head coach Shane Steichen told reporters that Phillip Rivers will start again next Monday night against the San Francisco 49ers.
Wow.
And just to, kind of talk about his first NFL appearance coming back out of retirement, on his game against the Seahawks, it was a 16-18 loss. He was 18 for 27. He had 120 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Didn't really have a favorite target. He kind of bounced the ball around pretty equally between all of the Colts wide receivers. Gave Jonathan Taylor a few targets as well. It was pretty even. 26 total targets, and it was pretty much split between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. So, interesting for him coming out of retirement. The Washington Commanders have decided to sit Jaden Daniels and start Marcus Mariota for the final 3 games of the season. Pretty smart choice to me. We've already had some injury problems. Well, they know that, they're done for the year, so let's just not make any dumb mistakes. On the flip side of the coin, Joe Burrow is expected to start Cincinnati's final 3 games. Despite the Bengals' playoff elimination. Not really a good idea. All it takes is one wrong game, and you're done for, and you're going to wish that you sat out. Here's something that I like to see. 6 weeks after trading for him, the Jaguars are finalizing a 3-year contract extension for wide receiver Jacoby Myers.
Whoa!
That ties him to the Jacksonville Jaguars through the 2028 season. Thursday, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter that this contract is worth $60 million and ties him to Jacksonville through the 28 season with $40 million guaranteed. So awesome for him. I think he's going to be that breakout wide receiver that they've been needing. Certainly need somebody to step up because Brian Thomas Jr. has not. So that's good for him. Also, got a big NFC matchup coming up this week. The Bears have ruled out wide receivers Rome Odunze and Luther Burden for Saturday night's game versus the Packers. And Josh Jacobs and Christian Watson have been listed as questionable.
Oof.
So that'll be interesting. In other news, more injury news, Patrick Mahomes has begun rehab following surgery to repair 2 torn ligaments in his left knee. The team is optimistic that the 2-time MVP could be back early next season, perhaps even by week 1.
Could.
And I've got 2 more items of breaking news, and we'll move on to our next segment. In the words of Sam Cooke, he's got an old song, A Change Is Gonna Come. After 27 years, a change has come. This is the first postseason without Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, or Patrick Mahomes since 1998.
Holy crap.
So we've got a new slate of people this year.
Wow.
Interesting. And my last bit of item, we have made NFL history as of last night. The Seattle Seahawks have become the first team in NFL history to win a game in overtime on a 2-point conversion.
Wow.
And that's all I have for this week's breaking news.
Holy cow. Well, that was a lot. A lot of breaking news, a lot of things to discuss and go over. Phillip Rivers is a grandfather and trying to save the Colts season. So speaking of the Colts, let's jump into topic number 2. This is a little more of like a first take segment, but I thought it'd be interesting because this is something I was thinking about during my work week, and it was something I thought would be cool for us to discuss. If the season stays as it has been and from the beginning of the season up until now, regardless of either team making the playoffs, who has been or who is the bigger disappointment between the Colts and the Lions? The reason being, I selected both these teams for completely different reasons, but literally a few weeks ago, the Colts looked like they were going to be the number 1 overall seed in the AFC, and then, of course, Daniel Jones went completely. ACL, out. Complete, or was it his Achilles? His Achilles. Was it his Achilles or his ACL? I'm pretty sure it was his Achilles. I think it was his Achilles. The ACL happens so much that's so easy to say. But yeah, I watched a doctor break it down on YouTube. A very good video, by the way. I highly recommend. So once Daniel Jones went out, even then they were starting to have a downward trend. And once Daniel Jones was out, it's 8-6. All of a sudden they're scrapping by trying to get Grandpa Rivers in. On the flip side of things, the Lions came into the season with Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, stacked again, and these guys are giving up just as many points as they're scoring, 8-6, and looking on the outside in, trying to make a case for their playoff appearance. It's just not looking like it's feasible at this point. So in your opinion, who's been the bigger disappointment?
I have to go with the Lions. Because when you look at the Colts record, okay, so what I did is I compiled the records from the 22 season to now. The Colts are pretty much right where they always are. So they're consistent. With the exception of Frank Reich's last year in 2022, the Colts finished 4-12. Then 2023, they finished 9-8. 2024, 8-9, and right now they're sitting at 8-6. So they're really right where they have been. They really have. I mean, they've had some, personnel changes. Not a terrible amount, but they got rid of Frank Reich. They had Frank Reich as their head coach, and then they had Nick Sirianni and Marcus Brady as offensive coordinators. Sirianni was the coordinator from 18-20, and then Marcus Brady 21-22. So when Shane Steichen came in, he brought in with him the infamous Jim Bob Cooter for his offensive coordinator.
Jim Bob.
And then they had Gus Bradley as a defensive coordinator until this year, and they replaced him with Lou Anarumo. So really, they really haven't had a lot of personnel changes, and they have stayed consistent. Now, when you go to the flip side of the coin and you look at the Lions have... Okay, Dan Campbell's second season was in 2022, and he finished with a 9-8 record. Not terrible. They were the second place in the NFC North behind the Vikings that year. Vikings 13-4. But go to 2023 season, Lions finished top of the NFC North, 12-5. The next year, 2024 season, they finished top of the division, 15-2.
Shoo.
Right now, they're sitting at 8-6.
Oof.
So, okay, some key things. Okay, no head coaching changes. Dan Campbell's been the coach since 2021. Defensive coordinator, they lost a really good defensive coordinator, Mr. Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal. But, however, Kelvin Shepard has done a fantastic job as a defensive coordinator for the Lions and has a lot of praise coming his way. So that wasn't a major change. I want to say one of the biggest changes I think that might be affecting this Lions offense, the question is hinging upon, is the absence of Ben Johnson what's put out the fire for the Detroit Lions. He was the coordinator until he took the job with the Bears, and look what he's done with the Bears offense. What he's done with the team. He has completely turned around Chicago's team. So is the reason for the Lions' woes because they lost their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson? Or is it something else? After Ben Johnson left, John Morton took over as the Lions' offensive coordinator, and after November, Dan Campbell said, buddy, you're done calling plays. I'm calling plays. So, I don't know if that's all, but to me, that's the biggest thing that I can see is the Colts have stayed consistent, and this season, I mean, everybody's talked about season, but the Lions have been notorious for being the front runners of their division, and they're just not performing this year.
So to touch on the Lions, I also picked the Lions as the bigger disappointment, but I threw these two teams in here for different reasons. I'll touch on the Colts in a minute. When I looked up the stats, and trust me, the stats don't always tell you everything. When I looked up the stats of the Detroit Lions, I was very shocked on both sides of the football. So comes from teamrankings.com. I trust these people. I use these people all the time for my articles. They are generally always picture perfect accurate. The Detroit offense is scoring 30.6 points a game. It's ranked number 1 in the NFL. They're averaging 379 yards a game, which is 4th in the NFL. They're averaging 6.2 yards per play, which is 2nd in the NFL. They are at a 67% scoring touchdown percentage in the red zone, also number 2 in the NFL. 3.5 touchdowns per game. That is also 2nd in the NFL. The stats, however, on the defensive side of the football has been very, very poor. Opponents' points per game, 24.6, 23rd in the NFL. Opponents' yards per game, 337.9, number 21 in the NFL. Opponents' yards per play, 5.5, 19th in the NFL. Opponents' touchdowns a game, 2.9, which is 22nd ranked in the NFL. Mind you, their third down defense has been somewhat solid, 36%. That's 10th in the NFL. However, everything else has been a complete flip of the offense. However, on the rushing side of the football, Detroit is another story. Yards per rush, 4.9, is ranked 3rd in the NFL. However, rush yards a game, 131.1, is also 5th in the NFL. It's wow. They're firing on all cylinders, but look at the run defense. Opponent rushes a game is 26 rushes against them, which is 18th NFL. Their opponents are averaging 4 yards per rush, which is 8th ranked in the NFL. Not too bad on the defensive side. They are only giving up 106 yards a game on the ground, which is 13th in the NFL. So if you look at these statistics, something's not adding up. Their defense has completely, and to mention Seth's point here, is this because Dan Campbell has had to focus so much on the offensive side of things that their defense has now suffered? Of course, they lost Aaron Glenn, and you wouldn't think that there was much of a change, but I mean, these stats have been horrible. They're putting up 30.6 points per game and giving up almost as many points as they're scoring, almost as many yards as they're putting up. So it really makes you question, and if you've watched Tennessee football this year, it's a very eerily similar story of high-powered offense and atrocious defense. That's got to be the biggest disappointment of the year. Their defense has been terrible, and I think they have good players on their defense. I don't think we're looking at, a bunch of 5th-round picks or unsigned free agents. They have talented people. They're extending people on the defense with contracts, but the money is not showing here. Really tough to see.
And also, when you look at the teams that they've lost to, they've lost to the Packers twice. No biggie. I kind of get that one. I thought the second one might be a revenge battle, and they did lose by 7, but okay, that's all right. I'll give you that one. They lost to the Vikings, which are doing terrible this year. Just awful. They lost to the Chiefs, also doing terrible this year. Lost to the Eagles. Just there's a lot of these ball games they should have won that they just couldn't cut the mustard on.
Couldn't cut the mustard. I mean, if you pull this up, I've only mentioned a few of the stats, but if you look at the offense next to defense, you consistently see a ranking of single digits compared to double digits, in the 20s in almost every category versus single digits on offense. That is a tale of two cities right there. You hate to see. Now, on the flip side, the reason I included the Colts on this was because, again, at the beginning of the season, I don't think a lot of people had high expectations for the Colts. Daniel Jones, it was kind of like Big question mark. What was he going to do? Well, he exceeded expectations. This entire team exceeded expectations, even to the point of trading for Sauce Gardner, trying to clearly make an elite team to compete for a Super Bowl. Do I think that trade was good? No, I've made my grievances on that before. However, even with Daniel Jones pre-injury, they started having a consistent gradual decline. Daniel Jones was struggling in the last few of his games before obviously going down with his injury. And then they just made the decision to sign Phillip Rivers as a quarterback. Now, I'm not an expert in this area, but is this showing that the development of NFL quarterbacks is really this bad? Or are the Colts just that stupid? Signing a 44-year-old grandfather quarterback who's not played in the NFL since 2021 to make your case to win a Super Bowl.
I think I would have tried to sign somebody else. No offense to Phillip Rivers. I mean, heck, I would have at least give Riley Leonard a shot before I just washed my hands of him and be like, hey, man, you're up. It's your time to shine, That's what you do with a backup quarterback.
It genuinely did blow my mind. I know that they clearly were making a bunch of efforts to be Super Bowl contenders this year, but Phillip Rivers? Really?
I mean, he's older than Rodgers and Flacco both.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco haven't done terrible this year, but the dude's 44. And he's not Tom Brady.
Yeah, and then to come back on your first game. Okay, don't get me wrong. The Colts are not a super team, but they have pretty good notable players on their team.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me with Michael Pittman Jr., Tyler Warren, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, and Jonathan Taylor, the best that you can do is 120 yards. That's bad.
Now, granted, the Seahawks defense is pretty powerful, but not all that great because they just gave up 30 points to the Rams last night. We'll go over that later. But if you watched that game, or even just say you pulled up the highlights on YouTube right now, and you said, let's just watch the highlights. Phillip Rivers was throwing 5-yard passes. Their entire offense was short check downs, drag routes across there was if the dude tried to throw 35 yards, I think he'd throw his arm out. And it's not this, but the dude's 44. It's hard to have that arm strength as you get older.
That is how you know that you have a friend in the league. Because when you read the articles, his insurance was about to retire, was about to go away.
Yeah.
And he's got a crap ton of kids, and he's got a big family.
A lot of kids.
And when you retire from the NFL, you're guaranteed insurance. The league pays for your insurance for 5 years. And he had a buddy somewhere in the league been like, hey, man, look, even if you just sign him for, a few months, we need
It had to have been. It had to have been. Because that was arguably one of the craziest and poorest decisions I've seen in quite a few years. And we've seen some crazy stuff in the NFL. But, it just blew my mind that I was watching the interview and they were like, yeah, we're trying to be Super Bowl contenders still. And we know Phillip Rivers is still.
There are plenty of other good available quarterbacks in the league, way above 44-year-old Phillip Rivers.
I mean, dude, old?
Heck, if you're gonna call somebody out of retirement, call Drew Brees or Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, not Phil Rivers.
That was crazy. And I mean, the slap in your face to your backup quarterback. Either your backup quarterback is really that terrible, or I don't know.
We got 3 games left. 3 games. Let the boy cut his teeth a little bit.
I don't know. That's crazy stuff. But either way, 44 years old, a grandfather, has as many kids as touchdown passes at this rate. It's crazy work. Crazy work. Either way, though, the Colts, not as disappointing as the Lions for me this year, but they were close. So moving on to. You want to jump into? I guess it doesn't really matter which order. Would you rather?
It doesn't matter, whichever you want to do. We can do.
This will
week
tie
15 predictions or division.
This will tie into our picks, but I think this shouldn't take us too long. There's not a lot of crazy games this week. So week 15 predictions. Obviously, last night was probably the best game of the week. The Rams and the Seahawks. We'll just jump into that first. Why not? I watched it up until it was 30-14, and I can't lie, I fell asleep. And I was like, oh, the Rams woke up. However, I had it on my phone, and I woke up and I had to pee, and I looked, and it was 30-30, and it was overtime. And I was like, I'm going back to bed. So woke up, watched the highlights, watched what I left off at the game, and what in the world happened? There's a lot that happened. It felt like an NFC championship game.
No
almost.
doubt. No doubt.
And one of the craziest calls ever that we were discussing. What happened with that lateral play there, Seth, for a 2-point conversion to make it 28 from 30 to 28 to 30 to 30 off of something I've never seen called.
And Sean McVay never has either.
So for context, obviously, I'm sure many people watching and watch the game or watch the highlights. It already had an insane amount of views on YouTube. Much similar to the leveraging call of the Broncos and the Colts early in the season. There was a screen setup attempt on a 2-point conversion, which was crazy in itself. Doing a screen on a 2-point conversion is crazy. And the ruling on the field was that it originally was just an incomplete pass. And how often do you see an incomplete pass overlooked or reviewed by upstairs?
Not hardly
ever. And after some discussion and Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit filling in, talking about useless stuff for a few minutes, then apparently it was being reviewed, and the decision on the field was that Sam Darnold threw a backwards pass that was deflected in the air into the end zone, casually picked up without the dude even, I think it was it Cooper Kupp that picked it up? Didn't even realize he was just picking up the ball to pick up the ball, bounced off 2 Rams defenders' hands, picked up the ball, and they counted as a 2-point conversion attempt. What was that?
You're not going to win that battle.
I've seen some crazy stuff. Seth's seen crazy stuff. But that's one of the most insane calls I've ever seen.
I agree. Everybody has their opinion. I've been reading a lot of things. A lot of people disagree. A lot of people agree, say it was the right call. I wasn't for either team, but I don't think that was the right call.
But genuinely, without rage baiting anyone, I'm not arguing the fact that it was backwards pass. It looked backwards. I saw the overhead shot. It looked like he was throwing it backwards. But how many times have you seen in NFL history someone look at a call and say, this was an incomplete pass, we need to review this? After it was deflected in the air.
After it was already deemed failed 2-point conversion.
Called on the
Whistle
field.
blowed, lined up in the kickoff, ready to kick the ball off.
Incomplete pass. Call on the field. It was over. Bounced off 2 Rams defenders, and it was nonchalantly picked up in the end zone. I have never seen anything like it. And I'm not arguing that it was the wrong call. I'm arguing it's the right call. But how many times does the NFL actually review a play like that? It's crazy stuff. Regardless of that, though, it was a duel. The Rams looked in the forefront for a while. They had Sam Darnold awkward in many situations like they did the last time the Rams played the Seahawks. And in some magical way, the Seahawks not giving up, really off of a punt return touchdown, completely changed the game. 3 2-point conversion attempts that were successful, including one to win the game, set NFL history. Seahawks won in overtime, and now the Seahawks sit atop a crazy NFC division, and we'll go over that later. But what a game. Thursday Night Football. Probably one of the last really good Thursday Night Football games of the slate before we enter the playoffs. So, Eagles and the Commanders, who you got?
Eagles.
Same. I don't think we need to go over that much. Packers and the Bears. I watched the last week's Denver and Green Bay's game. Phenomenal game. Loved it. It felt like a clash, a playoff clash, a Super Bowl potential clash. And I was thoroughly impressed by both teams. I was thoroughly impressed by the Broncos, and I was impressed by the Packers. Unfortunately, I saw it live. Micah Parsons went down, non-contact. Clearly was gruesome. As soon as it happened, everyone knew as soon as it happened what it was. Jordan Love looked incredible, mind you, against what is highly touted as the best defense in the NFL. He looked incredible. Jordan Love was firing on all cylinders. Josh Jacobs was having a great game. Dude had one of the craziest touchdown catches by a running back I've seen all season long. And the Broncos still won. And I think the Packers showed a lot, and it was a very close game down to the wire, playing at Mile High. And so, do I still think the Packers are better than the Bears? Absolutely. The Packers beat them last time. I think the Packers beat them again. I think this is where the Packers rise to the top, and I think it'll be a close game again. But especially with Rome Odunze being out, that really struggles. And listen, I picked up Christian Watson off of waiver wire. Nobody had him picked up. The best pickup I possibly could have had all season long. He was my favorite, and he got hurt. And he's unfortunately injury prone. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, the Packers Super Bowl chances are over. Their playoffs are gone. He's a good wide receiver, but this dude is not elite status. Yeah, he can get open. He's a deep bomb threat, and he's a downfield threat, but most of the time he's getting like 2 or 3 catches doing that. I don't think the Packers lost their chances at all, and I still think they're better than the Bears. Give me the Packers.
Same. I agree. Packers.
Chargers and the Cowboys. Yeah, this one, the Chargers are hot and the Cowboys are not. The Cowboys are the Cowboys, the Chargers are the Chargers, and yes, the Chargers can choke some games. I don't think that it happens here. The Cowboys have had a lot of drama this year, and I think I read something that CeeDee Lamb is likely not to play in this game. I don't know why. I didn't know if he got injured or if there's more disciplinary issues going on. Regardless, I still don't think the Cowboys will beat the Chargers. Give me the Chargers in this one.
I agree. I'll take Chargers, even though they are playing in Dallas. I like LA better for this matchup.
Granted, the Chargers are 10-4, and there's a lot of implications in the AFC playoff race between the Chargers and the Texans and the Colts. We'll get into that later. Bengals and the Dolphins. Mr. Joe Burrow himself is facing against the rookie quarterback out of Texas. I had to go with the Bengals. I mean, Joe Burrow, unfortunately, is as injury prone as ever, and I really don't know why they're playing him, but give me the Bengals.
Yeah, I got to go with the Bengals, too. They have way more stars right now than Miami. That's
the Bills and the Browns. Oh, boy, the Buffalo Bills coming off of a hot win against the Patriots. My, oh, my. Josh Allen continuously saves Sean McDermott's job. I don't care what you say.
What a game. What a game.
What a fantastic game that was. I don't think this is a contest. Then again, I don't know. The last time I said that when the Bills were about to play the Dolphins embarrassed the Bills, but the Browns have been exceptionally bad lately.
I agree. Nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. They're going to circle around Shedeur Sanders, and he's going to not know what hit him.
Yeah, it's looking rough for Cleveland. A few good things this year, but very, very bad things. Vikings and the Giants. Listen, a tell of both teams who have had disappointing seasons, especially the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy has had 2 games in a row where he's thrown 3+ touchdowns. I believe I saw the NFL posted. If I'm wrong, I'm terribly sorry. Give me the Vikings on this one. The Giants are probably off the radar throwing for draft picks. Either way, the Vikings defense is tremendously better than the Giants. Give me the Vikings.
I disagree. Give me the Giants over the Vikings.
Whoa.
New York.
Whoa.
New York with the win.
Whoa. A lot of faith. I mean, I could see it. Chiefs and the Titans. Even if the Gardner Minshew is Gardner Minshew, man, give me the Chiefs.
Yes, absolutely. Give me the Minshew mania over the Titans.
The poor Titans, man. Poor Titans. If you're a Titans fan, you're watching this, so sorry. Hopefully you have a good NFL draft come April. The Bucks and the Panthers. Oh, boy. This one is crucial. We'll discuss more of this later. But currently, both teams are 7-7, fighting atop their division, trying to get that playoff-bound bid. And listen, the Buccaneers have been disappointing me tremendously lately. They started the season off so well, and they've just been so bad ever since then. I mean, it's been abysmal. However, the Panthers are a big question mark. I think the Panthers are clearly an example of a team that has a tremendous amount of talent, very similarly to the Broncos last year, but they're still trying to find their identity. They're still working through that, very inexperienced but talented crew, and it shows in their record. It shows in their play. It's a tough one for me. I'm just going to have to go with Baker Magic. Give me the Bucks over the Panthers.
I agree. I've got to take the Bucks over the Panthers. However, I will say, I think that the Panthers do have a lot of talent. Bryce Young, Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard, Tyrell McMillan. They've got a lot of good players, and they just don't have that person that can showcase it and bring it out of them. They need somebody that can bring that to light and sharpen them up. If somebody could just come in and sharpen them up, I think they'd be probably winning the division right now.
I said it at the beginning of the year. I'll say it again. I think in the next 2 years, you could see the Panthers become serious playoff contenders, and I think they are looking really good. And I do think they have a legitimate chance to win this game. I'm just going over veteran status, and it's not really talent status. I think both teams have a lot of even-based talent, but the Bucks are also getting a lot of people back from injury. Mike Evans really returning is probably the biggest crucial factor because Baker Mayfield was having no one to throw the ball to for quite a while there. Jets and the Saints, battle of the bottom barrel. I've been seeing people hyping up the Saints, and I understand it. There's some crazy stats behind that, and that's why I'm picking the Saints to beat the Jets in a ugly game. Probably I will not be watching this game, even if it's on television. I'm just throwing that out there right now. But
New York Jets and the Saints. Give me Jets over the Saints. Easy, yes.
what?
Jets are going to win.
What?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
Really?
They're going to screw up their draft picks. They're notorious for that. Give me the Jets.
Hey, man,
over
I'm
the
seeing a lot of
Saints.
Saints fans saying they found their quarterback in the next 5 years, so I don't know.
That may be the case. However,
Now to this one, another crucial matchup for differing reasons for both teams, the Jaguars and the Broncos. Listen, I love my team. I love my team this year. I've always been a Broncos fan, whether we're 2-12 or 12-2. We've got an insane win streak. I think this will be another really good game. However, the Broncos defense is still the Broncos defense. Trevor Lawrence has been fantastic this year most of the time, but has struggled against better defenses. I do think the Broncos will beat the Jaguars here. I think they're more explosive. I think they're riding a tremendous high, and they are clearly a team on fire trying to secure that number 1 overall seed in the American Football Conference. So give me the Broncos.
interesting matchup between two very good teams. Broncos with the better record of 12-2. Jaguars with not a terrible record of 10-4.
Pretty solid.
Currently leading the AFC South right now.
Solid.
Had, good addition to their team with, picking up Shaheed and Myers. But I've got to go with Denver. I really do. I think that their defense is going to pose a big challenge to Jacksonville, and they're just on a hot streak. They're rolling to only lose 2 games. Is very impressive. But if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're the only team in the league right now that they've got the least amount of losses out of anybody.
Yeah.
With 2. So I'm gonna have to go Denver over Jags.
Just to add a little context to this, I was really annoyed that they ranked the Rams over the Broncos in the power rankings, especially after last night. So screw you, NFL. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't look at this if you ever try to sponsor us for anything. I apologize. Falcons and the Cardinals. Another bottom barrel matchup. This one, listen, Jacoby Brissett has really done a phenomenal job.
Agreed.
But they're still the Cardinals all year long has been the story of losing close games. However, Kirk Cousins, I love you, buddy. I don't think you're winning this one. Give me the Cardinals over the Falcons.
No!
That's my upset pick. Listen, Trey McBride has been my shining darling of a fantasy player this year, carrying my team over and over again. The dude is insane. If Trey McBride gets hurt, my season's over. I'm just telling you that now. He's been fantastic. I think he will continue to be fantastic over and over again. Give me the Cardinals. Why not?
I like Jacoby Brissett. I've always been a fan. I think that if he had started from week 1, that you'd see a different record for. Even though they did have a lot of injuries, he's been that veteran quarterback that they've needed that they couldn't get out of Kyler Murray. And even though they're favored to win, I've got to go with the Dirty Birds on this one. I sure do. I think they've got a really good defense. They've got Bijan Robinson. I got to go with Atlanta. I really do. The Battle of the Birds. I got to go with the Falcons.
That's fair. That's fair on that one. Steelers and the Lions. The battle of the 8 and 6 teams. Dude, listen, the biggest disappointment of the year against a downward trending team that's starting to get a little bit of momentum. Clearly this game has massive impacts for both these teams. If the Lions lose this, their playoffs hopes are toast. It's gone. They're already very grim and very slim anyways, considering the Packers and the Bears' current states. But if they do win this game, they still are capable of maintaining a playoff spot. On the other side, the Steelers have a game lead over the Ravens. They have the tiebreaker as well, the better record. And if they win this, it pretty much secures their standings. I'm still going with the Lions. I think the Lions are better at this point. If they lose this game, they're probably beating themselves. The Steelers don't have enough offensive weapons, and I think the Lions, if they get on a hot streak early on and can start out strong, they will take this game over.
Like you said, both teams 8 and 6. It is at Ford Field. I have to go with Detroit as well, just because the plethora of players that they have. They have too many weapons. Between Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they don't have, Pittsburgh does not have the same caliber of people that Detroit does. However, I think it'll be a close game. I think Detroit comes out with the win.
Raiders and the Texans. The Raiders season was sustainable at all, and the Texans are on an incredible upward trend, looking like they are contending seriously for their division. On a hot win streak, they've won 6 of their last 7. CJ Stroud is healthy. Their team is firing on all cylinders. They have one of the best defenses right behind Denver. I had to go with the Texans on this one. If they throw this game and they lose this game, they don't deserve to make the playoffs because it's the Raiders.
I agree. Las Vegas hasn't done anything all year. Houston got off to a rough start, and then they've really bounced back, sitting at 9-5, trying to contend with their division. I got to go with the Texans as well over the Raiders.
Patriots and the Ravens. 2 teams that are on complete opposite sides of the spectrum. The Ravens still fighting for their playoff hopes. The Ravens are hoping that if they win out their games, and even the Steelers win out their games, that their final season matchup against each other, the Ravens still somehow have a playoff chance at 7-7. There's a lot of crazy variables on it. But if they lose this game, they're out. And I do genuinely think they will lose this game. The Patriots are hungry for revenge after losing their win streak to Buffalo. The Patriots are still fighting, still look like the better team. The Ravens, after they lost to the Steelers, I pretty much lost all hope in them. I don't like them anyways. Give me the Patriots.
What an interesting matchup for the prime time between the New England Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. It's the Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels show. I can't help it. I know I'm a Buffalo fan, but they've just been too hot. They're the second best team in the AFC right now. Got to go with New England. I really think that you could see a possible AFC championship with New England this year, and they're just too good right now to bet against them, so I got to go with New England.
49ers and the Colts. Another tale of 2 interesting situations. Playoff implications are major. The Colts are currently 8-6, and the 49ers are currently 10-4. This is a must-win for the Colts, and this is a need to win, but don't have to win for the 49ers. Sorry, Phillip Rivers. You're probably going to get sacked once this game, and you're going to be on the sideline. Give me the 49ers. They're scary. They're getting healthy from all the injuries. They've not been talked about all year long, and here they are sitting at 10-4, still competing for the NFC West. Give me the 49ers, eliminating the Colts.
Monday night matchup. It's going to be a good game for 49ers fans. I got to take the 49ers over the Colts. If you'd have asked me this, Week 8, I would have had to go with the Colts. But right now, the way that it's been, no, I've got to go with the 49ers on this one. They're not done yet. They're still in it, and I think this is going to be a very rough game for Colts.
So, jumping into another playoff extravaganza. Last time we did playoff predictions, playoff seedings. Just a quick rundown right now. The Texans are at the 7th seed in the AFC. The Bills at 6, the Chargers at 5, the Steelers at 4, the Jags at 3, and the Patriots at 2. The Broncos have secured their playoff spot. The Seahawks and Rams have also secured their playoff spot. On the NFC side, you've got the Bears at 2, the Eagles at 3, the Bucks at 4, the 49ers at 6, and the Packers at 7. So yeah, lots of stuff here. But either way, let's predict division winners. This one's tough. This one's going to be tough. This is a rare time in NFL history where almost every single division is still up for grabs. Crazy to say that, except the Eagles in the NFC East. Sorry, that's not happening. Everywhere else, though, is still up for grabs. So, Seth, let's start with...
All right, we'll start with the AFC West. It's a close run between the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. Patriots sitting at 11-3, Bills sitting at 10-4. They're both even with each other this year. Both teams have defeated each other at least once. However, I feel like New England's going to come away with the division because their last 3 games, I think that they will win out. Buffalo, I do not. I think Buffalo will succumb to the Eagles. So that would put the Patriots at 14-3, and that would put the Bills at 12-5. So I've got to go with Patriots on the AFC West.
I also agree with that. I, however, do think that the Bills will win out, and I do think the Patriots will win out.
Or AFC East, excuse me.
But either way, even if the Bills win out and the Patriots win out, the Bills will still be 1 game behind the Patriots. Right? Correct? Yeah. So either way you go, the Patriots would finish 14-3. The Bills would finish 13-4. So even with the 1-to-1 head-to-head difference, the Patriots do have that 1 game. I really don't see how the Patriots could lose one of their final games. I could see the Bills losing to the Eagles, but I still think the Bills will win that game. Early prediction there. So yeah, give me the Patriots in the AFC East, and I think the Bills will make the playoffs. And honestly, the Bills making the playoffs as a 5 seed or a 6 seed maybe isn't the worst thing for them overall, but that will probably be for a later episode. The AFC North, we kind of discussed this a little bit last time. Who you got between the Steelers and the Ravens?
Gotta go with Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I don't think there's much to go over here. If you look at the Ravens' final season stretch, and then you also take into the fact that Steelers have the head-to-head win, and they also have a better 1-game differential as well. The Steelers will play the Ravens again for their final season matchup on January the 4th, but you got to have a miracle at this point, and as soon as the Ravens lose to the Patriots, it's over. So you can clip this and hate on me later if that happens, but yeah, that one's pretty easy. The AFC South, Jags, Texans, or Colts?
Well, looking at everybody's last 3 weeks, I think that it's going to come down to a tie between the Jaguars and the Texans, with the Texans winning the tiebreaker because the Jaguars are sitting at 10-4. They have to play the Broncos. If they didn't have to play the Broncos, if they had another team, I would take the Jaguars, but they're going to lose to the Broncos, and then I think they'll win their last 2 games against the Colts and the Titans. However, the Texans' last games are the Raiders, Chargers, and the Colts. So I think the Texans are going to win out the last of their season, and I think that the Texans will get the AFC South.
The Jaguars currently have a 5-game win streak. The Texans have a 6-game win streak, and the Colts have a 4-game losing streak. The Colts I have wrote off completely. And I am also going to pick the Texans. I think the Jaguars, if they can beat the Broncos, they will win the South, but I don't see it happening. I think the Texans will have the better overall head-to-head for the tiebreaker if it comes down to that, which I think it will. And I think we'll see the Texans comfortably atop the South. And I still think the Jaguars will make the playoffs either way. Also give me the Texans. And last but not least, the AFC West. The Broncos are on a 11-game win streak. The Chargers are on a 3-game win streak. Between the Broncos and the Chargers, we got
Denver all the way.
So whether I'm biased or not, you got to pick the Broncos in this situation. The regular season run for both these teams, the Broncos have a tough matchup with the Jaguars. Anything can happen still, but 11-game win streak is crazy, regardless of who you are. Give me the Broncos.
I will say, I'm going to throw this out there and go deep, even though we've never even, had our first wild card game. You heard it from Seth first. AFC Championship game. The New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos.
Wow. Okay, was not expecting that one. No Bills. Wow. Okay, well. Curveball and a half. I'll save that. I'm not going into that one. Not yet. Over on the flip side, the NFC East, shockingly enough, the Cowboys have not been eliminated from contention. But it's very bleak, and I don't expect the Eagles to lose their last few games. Give me the Eagles.
I agree. That's a runaway.
The NFC North, between the Bears, the Packers, and the Lions. The Bears are on a 1-game win streak. The Packers just lost, and the Lions are also on a 1-game losing streak. Who you got?
I never thought I would be saying this.
Oh, boy.
But give me the Chicago Bears to win the NFC North.
Oh boy, that's not happening.
Even with the loss to the Packers, because I truly think that they will lose to the Packers. They will beat the 49ers. I think that they'll beat the Lions. And even with the Green Bay winning out the last 3, that still gives Chicago a better record at 12-5, because where Green Bay got the tie against Dallas, even if Green Bay wins out, they're going to be sitting at 12-4-1. Excuse my dog. She just had surgery. Sit, Sadie.
That's okay. That's why we have editing involved. Sadie's getting a little active, but hey, I mean, it's playoff times.
If it had not been for the tie against Dallas, I think it would have been the Packers. However, I don't think the Packers are out of contention for the playoffs. I think they're definitely going, but I believe that the Bears and Ben Johnson are going to clinch the NFC North with his very first season.
That would be fantastic, especially if you're a Packers fan, or a Bears fan, excuse me, but it's not happening. Give me the cheese machines themselves. Just a quick little note from the NFL website. If the Bears lose, they have a 61% chance of playoffs. If they win, they have a 94% chance. So I don't know if they're factoring in the Lions possibly playing spoiler or what, but the Packers, if they lose, have a 79% chance of playoffs, and if they win, have a 99% chance. So I don't know everything that goes into the NFL's percentage predictions, but I thought that was very interesting, considering the Bears are literally have the best record in the division. But if the Bears do lose, that's 2 losses to the Packers on the season. And I still think the Pack machine, I don't know. I just, after that Broncos game, I was like, wow, the Packers are pretty good. And I've said that all year long. But anyways, the NFC South between the 7-7 Bucks and the 7-7 Panthers. The Buccaneers looked comfortable all season long and until they weren't. On a 2-game losing streak, and the Panthers also on a 1-game losing streak. Who you got between the two?
Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
This shouldn't have even been a question. This is really the Buccaneers beating themselves. But, of course, I also had to pick the Buccaneers. Crazy thing, though, is that the Buccaneers play the Panthers on Sunday, play another game, and then they play the Panthers again to close out the season.
Right. It's going to literally be a fight.
Fight to the finish.
It's between both of them against each other.
Can you imagine they both beat each other once and they both win their in-between game? I don't know how that tiebreaker would involve. I don't know, based off the schedules, the Panthers and the Bucks both, I don't know how that would go about. I need someone smarter than me to go over all those statistics. But yeah, I mean, Baker Magic, both teams have a lot of talent, but I'm going to have to go with the Buccaneers on this one too.
Yeah, I think when it's all said and done, the Bucks will be sitting at 10-7, and the Panthers will be sitting at 7-10.
Oof. Now, saving the hardest for last, because why not? Though things did change a little bit after last night, it's still technically up for grabs. The NFC West between the 12-3 Seahawks, the 11-4 Rams, and the 10-4 49ers. The Rams just dropped. The Seahawks are on a 5-game win streak. The 49ers are on a 4-game win streak. Who you got?
I got to go with Seahawks. If the Rams had won last night, it would have been the Rams. But because the Rams lost, it'll be the Seahawks, because both of them are going to win out. Because when you look at their schedule, if they don't win their last 2 games, both of them, there's something wrong. But even if they both win out, that'll put Seattle at 14-3 and LA at 13-4.
Now, I will say, I have an article coming out that goes over all the divisions, and I picked the Rams for this division. And I still am holding true to that. Because if you look, the Seahawks do have to play a very hungry Panthers team. A Panthers team that's trying to compete, and they also have to play the 49ers to close it out. And I know the Seahawks are crazy good, but if they lose these 2 games, and then you've got the 1-1 differential between the Rams and their head-to-head matchups, and you get into the variables and the Rams win out, the Rams would have a better record and have better potential tiebreaker stats over the Seahawks.
So you mean to tell me that you think the Seahawks are in a position to lose to the Carolina Panthers?
I do.
No.
Listen, there's nothing more enjoyable to watch than a team that is worse on paper that comes out and gets fiery and emotionally invested and can can win a game. And I think of any team this year that's a dark horse, it is the Carolina Panthers, and they could knock off the Seahawks in some crazy way. I love fantasy, okay? I love stories, and that would be an incredible story. So I could see it happening. So I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sticking to my author guns.
It would start
Give me
with
the Rams.
once upon a time.
Well, we all love stories for a reason because they're unordinary. So, or you don't, and you just like ordinary. That's okay too. Nothing wrong with being ordinary, I guess, if that's what floats your boat. And imagine after all of this, the 49ers just win the division. That would be crazy. That would be crazy. Either way, that was our very unorthodox, unprofessional divisional predictions. Very difficult. Very difficult. So, moving on to another difficult question that we always struggle with: NFL trivia.
I don't have one this week.
He
I
does not have one.
apologize.
But that's okay because I have one.
So the pressure's all on me this week.
Pressure is all on Seth.
And will I rise to the occasion? Probably not.
I actually knew this one, and I thought it was cool. I'd say you're probably going to think of someone else, though.
Probably. I always do.
Which player has won the most NFL MVP awards?
I mean, I've got a great person that's coming to my mind, but I don't know that that's going to be the correct answer.
I knew Seth being a Bills fan, that would happen.
First name that comes to my mind is Tom Brady. That's what I got to go with.
That is incorrect.
Wow.
That would be a lot of people. It's actually Peyton Manning.
He was my second choice. That was the two I was thinking of. I had to go with old
Peyton Manning.
TB12 there.
Peyton Manning won it in 2003, 2004, 2008, 2009, and 2013.
Wow.
Pretty crazy. Back-to-back years twice. Wild. Especially with a 4-year gap. How many? Crazy stuff. Last but not least, NFL fun fact. I had no clue about this. Thought it would be cool. Miami and New Orleans are tied for the most Super Bowls hosted with 11 each.
Oh, wow.
Miami has hosted the Super Bowl from 1968 to 2020, while New Orleans will host Super Bowl LIX in February 2025, which will tie the record.
Who was hosting it?
New Orleans.
Wow. New Orleans.
Or New Orleans.
For Super Bowl 59. Interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. Everyone always wants warmer weather for a Super Bowl. And
that would probably be why those two are probably the most. And
Hey,
those are both
it makes
big
sense.
Tourist cities.
It makes sense. But anyways, I guess that wraps up a very chaotic, full of very many things, episode 13. This will be posted probably today, if not tomorrow, either the 19th today or the 20th. This will be our Christmas edition. We're not going to be recording next week. It's Christmas time. Spend time with your family. If you want to turn the Swiney Bros on in the background while you're hanging out with the family, that's fine too. We won't complain. But anyways, thank you again so much for the love and the support, for 55,000 channel views. Crazy stuff. We've only been doing this for a few months now, and time's flying by, but it's still pretty crazy. The future is bright. Maybe we'll get that NFL sponsorship one day. Anything to close out for?
Like Toby said, I'd just like to say thank you to all the people that watch, especially the 54 people that watch the full episodes every week. Shout out to one of my main contributors, Cameron Beers. He watches every week without fail. Cam, thanks for being a super fan. Appreciate it. Everybody else that watches, that takes the time out. For all the people that watch our shorts, thank you, even when, you give us crap because we can't say Roger Staubach correctly. I'd like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Y'all be safe and God bless.
And again, if you have any questions or anything at all you'd like us to discuss, whether it's football or not related, please just comment it on YouTube, comment it on Instagram, comment it on Facebook, or fill out the Google form that I post right below this video, every single video. I promise it's there. It has not gone anywhere. be sure to submit a question. We will gladly discuss anything, whether you want to include your name or not include your name. Everyone's got different opinions on the internet. And of course, a big special thank you to all the people that leave hateful comments on our videos. It really does boost our views and just makes other people watch it. So I couldn't be more appreciative of all of that. It really does go a long way in the algorithm. So we are the SwineyBros. We'll catch you next time for episode 14. Have a very Merry Christmas.